Catholic Church begins a 9-day mourning period for Pope Francis. The Vatican announced the 88-year-old pontiff died early this morning our time, less than a day after he appeared in St. Peter's Square for Easter. Tina Kraus recaps this somber day with an eye on what comes next.
The faithful packed St. Peter's Square Monday evening for the Rosary Prayer for the late Pope Francis. Earlier, church bells rang out, one for each of his 88 years of life, and the Vatican lowered flags to half-staff in his honor.
It's a moment of a bit of sadness and at the same time thankfulness and celebration of life.
Pope Francis's death comes less than a day after he surprised the faithful on Easter Sunday, greeting them with a message of peace. Just last month, the Pope was released from the hospital after a 5-week stay for double pneumonia.
I was sort of really shocked because I was here yesterday at Mass and I saw the Pope and he looked just so fragile.
The first Pope born in the Americas, Francis put migrants, the poor and the marginalized at the center of his 12-year papacy.
That is his greatest legacy. He showed us that, what is not essential when you're Pope is to be on a pedestal. What is essential is to be with the people.
Over the next few days, hundreds of thousands of mourners are expected to descend upon Vatican City to pay their respects as Pope Francis's body lies in state. Pope Francis's funeral has to be held within 6 days of his death, and then 15 to 20 days after his passing, cardinals from around the world will come to the Vatican to begin the process of selecting the next pope. Tina Kraus, CBS News, Rome.
And in a break with tradition, Pope Francis will not be buried in St. Peter's Basilica. Instead, he'll be laid to rest at Santa Maria Maggiore Basilica, a 5th century church in Rome, dedicated to the Virgin Mary, that the Pope is said to have had a personal connection with. And as thousands line the streets in Rome, Catholics here in the U.S. are remembering Pope Francis and celebrating his life and impact on the world. Mourners gathering at cathedrals nationwide, and the New York Stock Exchange held a moment of silence. Millions now, though, looking ahead to who may be the next leader of the church.
Hopefully they'll make a good choice, because our world needs a little more openness and a little more acceptance.
It's going to be another blessing like the 266 we've had up to now.
Pope Francis visited the U.S. for 6 days back in 2015, making stops in Washington, New York, and Philadelphia. We talked earlier how the Pope highlighted issues centered around care for migrants and those on the edges of society. He frequently found himself at odds with President Trump for that. But Erica Brown shows us the president had nothing but praise for the late pontiff during an Easter egg roll celebration at the White House today.
President Trump delivered a message to Catholics mourning the death of Pope Francis during Easter celebrations at the White House.
We love you all. We're with you all. They were with me during the election, as you know, very strongly, and it's just an honor to have the support of the Catholics, and I feel very badly for them because they love the Pope.
The president and Pope Francis have not always seen eye to eye, especially on the issue of immigration. But Monday, the president said he agreed with the Pope's message of tolerance for migrants.
I do.
Mr. President. The president ordered flags be flown at half-staff in tribute to Pope Francis.
He was a very good man who loved the world, and he especially loved people that were having a hard time. And that's good with me.
Vice President J.D. Vance, who converted to Catholicism in 2019, was one of the last leaders to visit the Pope at the Vatican on Easter Sunday.
So good to see you.
The two had a cordial meeting despite disagreeing over Trump's mass deportation plans, which the Pope called a disgrace.
I know you've not been feeling great, but it's good to see you in better health.
In response to Vance's support of the plan, Pope Francis had penned a letter to U.S. bishops calling it a major crisis for America. And former President Biden, who was the nation's second Catholic president, praised the Pope's effort to fight climate change and advocate for the voiceless and powerless. Erica Brown, CBS News, the White House.
And within the last hour, President Trump said on social media that he and the First Lady would attend Pope Francis's funeral.